There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than words, when stillness invites the heart to reflect. The beginning of the Islamic year does not come with celebration or comfort. It arrives with weight, history, and a powerful opportunity. The 9th and 10th of Muharram are not ordinary days. They are sacred markers that call us back to sincerity, remembrance, and submission to Allah. Fasting on these days is not just about hunger, does not submit to Allah. Fasting on these days is not just about hunger, it is about seeking closeness to Allah, honoring truth, and renewing the soul through a quiet but powerful act of devotion. This practice traces back to a remarkable moment in time, when the Prophet saw a group of people fasting on the 10th day of Muharram to remember when Allah saved Prophet Musa and his people from oppression. He didn't just observe. He responded with humility and reverence. He said that believers have more right to Musa than anyone else. So he fasted that day and encouraged his followers to do the same. Later, he expressed the intention to fast on the 9th as well, to set the believers apart with distinction and purpose. This is why the 9th and 10th together hold such deep value in the heart of Islam. Fasting on these days isn't simply a recommended act. It's a gift from Allah. A single day of fasting done sincerely washes away the sins of the previous year. That is not poetic. It is a promise, reported in the most authentic sayings of the Prophet. In a world that exhausts the soul and clutters the heart, this is a rare chance to begin again. A reset that is personal, spiritual, and immense in reward. Though the Qur'an does not mention the day of Ashura directly, it speaks to the purpose of fasting, that through it we may attain a deeper awareness of Allah. Fasting is not just about abstaining from food and drink. It is about breaking the chains of ego, quieting the noise of the world, and reminding ourselves that everything we are, everything we seek belongs to Allah. There is also a deeper emotional layer, though not directly linked to the legal ruling of the fast. Many hearts are moved by the memory of Karbala, by the stand of the Prophet's grandson Hussein. His stand for justice in the face of tyranny reminds us that submission to Allah often means walking a path of courage and loss. Fasting becomes in its own way a silent tribute to truth. These days are not just for ritual, they are for revival, for reflection, for renewal. Through fasting we choose to step back from the world, to purify our hearts, and to reconnect with the one who never leaves, Allah. There's something profoundly moving about doing something your Prophet once did, not because it's a habit or a tradition passed through the generations, but because it feels like walking in his footsteps, quietly, with sincerity, without show. When you fast on the 9th and 10th of Muharram, you're not simply observing a practice, you're answering a call that echoes through time. You're reaching across centuries to hold on to something your Prophet held on to, with love, conviction, and deep awareness of Allah. This fast wasn't taken lightly. The Prophet didn't just see people fasting and copy them. He understood why they were fasting. To honor the day Allah saved his Prophet Musa and the people of truth from tyranny. And he felt a connection so powerful that he chose to fast as well. But he didn't stop there. He wanted his followers. You hate to carry that connection too, not blindly, but with clarity. When he said that we are more deserving of Musa, it wasn't about superiority. It was about responsibility, about carrying the torch of faith with honesty and integrity, knowing who we are and who came before us. Fasting on these days is more than honoring a moment in history. It's about remembering that we are part of a larger story, a story that began long before us, with men and women who placed their complete trust in Allah. Musa stood at the edge of the sea, his people panicking behind him, Pharaoh closing in with an army. From a human perspective, there was no way out, but he didn't waver. He said, "Indeed, my Lord is with me." And Allah parted the sea. That's the kind of faith we're being reminded of when we fast, that no matter how impossible things feel, there is always a way with Allah. This is why the fast isn't just a reward. It's a renewal of faith. It's a silent whisper to Allah, saying, "I trust you. I want to be better. I'm still trying." It's a private moment between you and your Creator. No one else needs to see it. No one else needs to know. And yet, the reward is so immense. One entire year of sins forgiven. Who but Allah gives that kind of mercy for such a simple, quiet act? When the Prophet intended to fast the 9th along with the 10th, he was teaching us to be thoughtful in our worship, to distinguish ourselves not for the sake of being different, but for the sake of doing things with intention. He didn't want us to imitate without thinking. He wanted us to worship with awareness, with love for Allah, and respect for the example of those who came before. And in that, there is deep wisdom. Because true worship isn't mechanical. It's not about just ticking off acts on a checklist. It's about the state of the heart. When the Prophet chose to fast on these days, it came from a place of deep love for Allah and for the legacy of the prophets. He was not only the final messenger, he was a bridge between the messages. Fasting on these days places us on that bridge. It's a step closer to what it means to be sincere with Allah. Not because we have to, but because we want to. Sometimes we're searching for ways to feel close again, to feel seen by Allah, to feel forgiven, lifted, understood. And we look for those moments in big, dramatic changes. But this simple fast is one of the quietest and most beautiful ways to return. No noise, no pressure. Just a sincere act with a powerful meaning. Just the memory of a prophet who cared enough about you to leave behind this path, and the hope that maybe, even with all our faults, we can walk it too. There are very few moments in life where one simple act done quietly, privately, can wipe away the weight of an entire year's worth of mistakes. And not just the mistakes others see, but the ones only you know. The thoughts you regretted the moment they came. The words you wish you never spoke. The times you were careless with your prayers, distracted during remembrance, cold toward people you should have shown warmth. The fast on the 10th of Muharram is one of those rare opportunities where Allah, in His mercy, opens a door not just for reward, but for release, for renewal. When the Prophet said he hoped that fasting this single day would erase the sins of the year before, he wasn't exaggerating. He knew who he was speaking about. People who fall, people who try, people who forget and then remember. He wasn't speaking to angels, he was speaking to people like us. And that's what makes this promise so incredible. It's not based on perfection, it's based on sincerity. Allah didn't tell us to be flawless. He told us to turn back over and over again. He told us that His mercy outweighs His wrath, that He loves those who return, that He is close to those who are broken but trying. A day like Ashura reminds us that Allah's love is not earned by the grandness of our actions, but by the purity of our intention. Imagine going into a new year with that kind of lightness in your heart, not because life is suddenly easy or pain has disappeared, but because you know that what was behind you is no longer holding you down. You fasted one day, You carried that hunger, not for the world to see, but for Allah to witness. You endured it with your eyes lowered, your tongue guarded, your heart softened, and through that, an entire year's sins, those countless hidden, messy moments, are erased by Allah's mercy. Who else could give like that? This isn't about earning forgiveness through suffering. Fasting isn't a punishment, it's a purification. It peels back the layers of distraction, of indulgence, of forgetfulness. It reminds the soul of what it was always meant to crave. Not food, not comfort, but closeness to Allah. The beauty of this fast is in its simplicity. You don't need wealth. You don't need status. You don't need eloquence or education. All you need is intention. All you need is that quiet moment before dawn where you decide, today I fast for Allah. And all you need is that moment before sunset where your heart whispers, Ya Allah, accept it from me. That's it. No audience, no applause, just a sincere heart and the one who listens to even the unspoken. In a world where people are quick to judge, quick to remind you of who you were, Allah says, come to me. I will forgive what others keep holding against you. And not just forgive it, He will erase it like it never happened. You don't need to be proud of your past to be worthy of His mercy. You don't need to have it all figured out. This one fast, done with a heart that longs to be clean, is honored by Allah in a way that no one else can truly understand. That's why the fast of Ashura is not a small act. It's one of the most personal, intimate chances you'll ever get to have your slate wiped clean. And maybe that's what makes it so powerful, that Allah gave us a way to return without shame, to begin again without needing anyone's permission, and to feel deep in the soul that we are never too far gone to be brought back. There's a kind of beauty in the way the Prophet lived, always aware, always intentional, always inciting that this is what is best for us. He didn't just act on what he saw around him. He paused, reflected, and made every decision with the deeper wisdom of faith. When he noticed that others were fasting on the 10th day of Muharram, he didn't dismiss it. He acknowledged the significance of the moment, the day Allah saved His Prophet and the people who stood for truth. But he also wanted his ummah to stand with their own clarity, not to follow without purpose, not to blend in without thought, but to practice faith with insight and dignity. That's where the 9th of Muharram enters. The Prophet made a clear and powerful decision. He said that if he lived to the next year, he would fast on the 9th as well. This wasn't just about adding another day. It was about setting a boundary, about preserving the identity of his followers, about teaching them to be deliberate. He wanted them to do what they do for Allah, not for trend, not for culture, not just because everyone else is doing it. He wanted the ummah to mean it. It's easy to lose that in today's world. It's easy to let worship become routine, to do things out of habit or because others expect it. But this moment from the life of the Prophet reminds us that even in something as personal as fasting, intention matters, purpose matters. When we fast the 9th and 10th, we are not only reviving a tradition, we're reviving the spirit behind it. That spirit that says, I know why I'm doing this. I know who I am. And I want to be sincere with Allah in everything. There's something deeply powerful in being distinct, not for the sake of ego, but for the sake of truth. The Prophet never wanted his followers to be arrogant, but he did want them to be confident in their submission to Allah. He wanted them to walk in this world with quiet strength, knowing that what they follow isn't imitation, it's revelation. And what they seek isn't praise, It's acceptance from the one who sees the unseen. Fasting both days and 9 and 10 is a way of saying, I choose to remember, I choose to walk this path with full awareness. It's not about being extreme, it's about being sincere. Because Allah loves those who worship Him with their hearts wide open, not just with their body. And there's a special kind of closeness that comes when you fast with that kind of intention. When you wake before dawn, not just to eat, but to quietly ask Allah to accept this day. When you go through the day, feeling the hunger, but reminding yourself that this discomfort is for a reason, that it's a form of remembrance, a shield, a way back. The Prophet's decision to fast both days wasn't random, it was part of his character. Always striving to perfect what is good, to protect what is pure. That's what makes following him so different. You're not just copying an action, you're inheriting a mindset that is gentle, aware, and deeply connected to Allah. Sometimes people think being religious is about doing more, pushing harder. But often it's about being more present in what you already do. The fast of the 9th isn't just a supplement to the 10th. It's a statement, a quiet one. One that says, I'm not just doing this because others are. I'm doing this because I understand. Because I want to follow the way of the one who loved Allah more than anyone ever could. And when you make that kind of choice with sincerity, with humility, it changes the fast. It changes you. The day the sea split wasn't just a miracle in the sky or the earth. It was a moment when faith stood face to face with fear. A group of believers led by a prophet found themselves trapped, behind them a ruthless army, in front of them nothing but endless water. Their hearts must have raced, their doubts must have whispered. But one man stood still, firm, steady. He didn't panic, he didn't question. He simply said, my Lord is with me. That's the legacy of this day. That's what we fast to remember. Not just the event itself, but the trust that lived inside the heart of a man who walked into the unknown with only one certainty: Allah will not abandon me. That kind of certainty is rare, but it's not impossible. And every year, when we fast on the 10th of Muharram, we are invited to taste a small part of that faith. This isn't about celebrating a historical event from a distance. It's about letting that moment live inside of us, carrying it into our own fears, our own walls, our own unseen futures. Because we all have our seas, our deadlines, our dead ends. We all stand at times feeling like we have no options left. The world behind us is closing in, and what's ahead seems impossible. But the fast of this day whispers to the heart, walk anyway, trust anyway. Because when Allah commands the sea to split, it obeys. There's no power like His power. No one rescues like He rescues. No one delivers justice like He does. That's the lesson the people of truth learned that day, that when they had no strength left, Allah stepped in. When they thought they would be overtaken, He opened a way where there was none. And He didn't just guide them to safety, He drowned the oppressor right behind them. That moment was not just a relief, it was a promise. The one who lifts the weak, the one who humbles the proud. It's a reminder that no tyrant, no hardship, no trial lasts beyond what Allah allows. And if you remain on the side of truth, even when it costs you comfort, He will make a way for you. This fast connects us to a story that is more than ancient. It's alive, it's relevant, Because oppression didn't end that day. Hardship didn't disappear. But the path of faith, the path of endurance and trust and patience was carved out for every believer who would come after. And we are part of that chain. Whether your struggle is public or hidden, whether your enemy is outside of you or inside your own thoughts, this day reminds you that Allah's power is near, that deliverance can come in a single command, and that no force in the world can stand when Allah decides it's time for ease. We often look for signs, for hope, for proof that Allah is with us. This day is one of those signs, not just in history, but in the present. A reminder that when you fast, when you trust, when you walk with Allah, even when everything around you says it's over, He opens oceans, He makes miracles happen in silence, and He never leaves those who remain patient for His sake. There are moments in life when the body is going through the motions, but the heart is somewhere else, buried under questions, regrets, restlessness. You pray, but it feels mechanical. You say the words, but the soul doesn't feel them. And then, unexpectedly, a small act of worship brings something back to life. Not because it's grand or loud, but because it's pure. Fasting on the 9th and 10th of Muharram is one of those quiet acts that holds a kind of healing few people really talk about. It's not just about reward. It's about being seen, being remembered, being gently pulled back towards something deeper. There's something different about fasting when you do it from a place of longing, and when you're not just ticking a box, but when your heart is reaching out for Allah, even if your words can't quite express it. That's what makes these days so special. You're not fasting for culture. You're not fasting because the world expects it. You're fasting because somewhere inside you believe Allah still wants you. You believe He still accepts your efforts, that your mistakes haven't cut you off, that your sins haven't closed the door. And when you believe that, even just a little, your heart begins to soften again. This kind of fast is not loud. It's not public. It doesn't need to be. It's between you and Allah. While the world moves at its usual speed, while everyone else continues with their day, you quietly choose something else. You choose patience. You choose remembrance. You choose restraint. Not just from food and drink, but from the distractions that numb the heart. And in that quiet, you find something that the world can't give you. A moment of stillness. A moment of connection. A moment where you feel, even just for a few minutes, like you've come home again. Healing doesn't always look like peace. Sometimes it looks like trying. Sometimes it looks like a person who failed many times, but still chooses to fast. Still chooses to say, Ya Allah, don't let go of me. There is something deeply beautiful about someone who knows they're not perfect, but keeps turning to Allah anyway. That's what these days are for. They're not reserved for the people who have everything together. They're a gift for the ones who've been through storms, who've lost pieces of themselves along the way, but who still believe mercy is near. Because it is. Allah's mercy is not like human mercy. There is no misery in harmony without bliss and gladness. We have to be mercy to people walking through life. There is not like human mercy. It doesn't run out. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't need explanations. When the Prophet said that fasting on this day can erase an entire year's sins, he wasn't just informing us of a reward. He was offering hope. The kind of hope that tells you, even if the year was filled with shortcomings, even if you weren't the best version of yourself, this one act, done sincerely, can clear the page. There are people who walk into these days carrying heavy hearts. There are people who walk into these days carrying heavy hearts, pain from loss, guilt from sin, loneliness that no one else sees, but Allah sees it. And He doesn't ask for perfection in return, He just asks for sincerity. A heart that wants to return. A soul that still believes the door is open. Fasting becomes that return. It becomes a way to say, without needing to explain anything, I'm still here, Ya Allah. I haven't given up on you. And when you fast with that kind of heart, you start to feel something shift, not outside, inside. The noise becomes quieter. The regrets lose some of their grip. And you remember, maybe for the first time in a while, that Allah never stopped watching over you. Some days feel heavier than others. Not because of what's happening around you, but because of what's happening inside you. The weight of the past, the pressure of expectations, the feeling that you've drifted slowly, quietly, without even realizing how far. And then, without warning, you're given a day like this. A day that doesn't demand noise or perfection. A day that invites you to pause, reflect, and realign. A day that allows you to reset, not just your schedule, but your heart. The 9th and 10th of Muharram offer that reset. Not through fanfare or public announcements, but through something deeply personal. You wake up before dawn. You feel the stillness. You whisper your intention. No one hears it except Allah. And that moment becomes sacred. You've chosen to respond, to show up, to try. And that is not small. In a world that constantly pulls your attention away from what matters, choosing to fast even one day for Allah is a quiet act of defiance against everything that numbs the soul. We're not always proud of how we've lived. There are chapters we avoid revisiting, moments we hope no one ever brings up. But Allah already knows, and He still invites you back. That's what makes this fast so powerful. It's not about erasing your humanity. It's about recognizing it, owning it, and trusting that Allah still wants you close. Some people think that returning to Allah requires a dramatic change or a perfect record. But often it begins with something simple. One act, one moment, one sincere day. You fast, not because you're already righteous, but because you want to be. You fast, not because you're free from sin, but because you believe Allah forgives. And when you fast with that kind of heart, you're not just performing a ritual. You're turning the page. The world rarely gives you space to start over. People remember your faults. They bring up your past. They expect you to carry the labels they've placed on you. But Allah gives you something completely different. The same severity will not be contained in its record. He gives you mercy. That your relationship with Him doesn't need to be approved by anyone else. It's yours. It's real. And it's waiting. Sometimes we look around and feel like everyone else has it together. But no one really does. Everyone is struggling with something. Everyone is carrying wounds, fears, weaknesses they hide. What makes the difference is not who looks perfect. It's who turns back, who reaches out, who says with humility and truth, Ya Allah, I need you. This reset isn't about changing everything overnight. It's about realigning your compass. Fasting helps you remember what matters, who you are, who you want to become, and most importantly, who you belong to. When the sun sets and you take that first sip of water, it's not just about breaking the fast. It's about realizing You've been guided through another day, held, seen, sustained, and deep down, your heart knows the door is still open.